Hey y'all, welcome back. So for today's video, we're going to be talking about the Rainbow High Runway dolls. Finally, I think back in series 1 or season 1 of the show was when the animated show had like a runway episode or episodes. I don't follow the show, so I'm not 100% sure. But there was like a plot point where the core characters made outfits for a runway show, and so ever since then we've kind of been expecting that we would get dolls for those looks, and they're finally here. A little bit late, but like we've finally gotten them, and I guess that's what's important. I do have a lot of thoughts about these dolls, which is why they're getting their own dedicated video instead of just being like a mention in a dolls I don't want video, because it's a lot to go through. I tried to make like a short version of my thoughts on TikTok, and the first time that I filmed it, it was like 10 minutes long for my short thoughts, so we're really going to get into it today. Of course, this is just my opinion, so if you guys disagree with me on the dolls, that is totally fine. It's not a big deal. We just have a difference of opinion, and then if you guys do find yourself enjoying as we go along, if you could give the video a like, that's very helpful to me, and if you're new here and you enjoy your time, definitely subscribe so you can see more. But with that, we are going to go ahead and go in rainbow order because obviously. So we're going to be starting with Ruby, and each doll does have two looks that I'm going to look at individually. So starting off with Ruby's like proper runway outfit, I don't think it's terrible in the sense that I don't think this was a horrible adaptation. The design is pretty accurate, I think, to how it looked in the show. I just am not in love with the design to begin with. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the fabrics seem kind of interesting. From the stock photos, the quality looks like it's perfectly fine. I am very curious to see whether the like skirt, sweatshirt portion of this is a separate piece from the black piece underneath. Because I do think that the black piece underneath, if that's like a separate dress or like a romper or something, that could be kind of pretty and kind of interesting. But I'm just definitely not a fan of the skirt. Again, though, that's like less a problem with the doll specifically and more just it's not my taste. So not too hard a critique here. I do feel like the doll herself looks kind of pretty. I like the dark lipstick on her. I think that's kind of nice. The shoes are a bit boring, in my opinion. I don't know if these were accurate to the runway shoes from the show, because again, I don't watch the show, and like I have looked at the images in the past, but I can't remember perfectly. So I don't know if these are accurate. Even if they are, though, I think it is just a little bit boring, so those are kind of disappointing. And the other thing with these is that while we get two outfits, we don't get two pairs of shoes. So, like, these are the only shoes that Ruby does get. That being said, my main complaint with this doll is just that I'm not a huge fan of the design. When it comes to her second outfit, ironically, I like her second outfit a lot more. I think that this is actually a pretty good outfit. Like, I don't want to buy Ruby because I don't like her main outfit, so it seems like a little bit of a waste of money. These are going to be, I think, $35 in the US. So it's not the worst price that Rainbow High's ever put out, but I don't want to buy her if I don't like kind of one of her main pieces. But I do think that this second outfit is really, really cool. I like the jacket. I think it's the same or it's a very similar cut to jackets that we've gotten from Rainbow High before, but it's a different color with like special flame printing because Ruby has a lot of fire motifs in her design, and I do think that it looks really good. The dress underneath is super, super simple, so it's not like anything outstanding, but I do think that for just kind of a staple piece to have to use for restyles or to layer on top of other stuff, I think it's a really good one. So shockingly, I actually like her second outfit a lot more than I like her first outfit. I feel like I would definitely be willing to buy this doll if she were to go on clearance or something like that, because I do like the second outfit, but yeah, the rest of it is not super exciting for me. Next up, we are looking at Poppy, who is by far my favorite from this line. I do just love butterflies, so like I am kind of biased towards her. I thought that this dress was very pretty from the images from the show, and seeing it on the doll, I don't think that it disappoints. I really, really do like it. I like the inclusion of some rhinestones on her dress. I like that her hair has like all the little pins in it with the monarch butterflies. It's very, very cute. My only complaint with this is that I really wish the backside of the fabric wasn't white. I understand that having it be double-sided, whether that's printed double-sided or whether it's like sewn with 2 layers, is extra cost. So I understand if they couldn't do a full monarch print on the inner panels, but I do wish that it were at least black so that it didn't feel so out of place. I feel like if all of the white parts were black, it would look more intentional, even if it was for budget reasons. But the white underside of the fabric showing does make it look a little bit cheaper, just a little bit worse. I still do really, really like it, and this is the only doll that I plan on buying for full price, because I am obsessed with this dress. It's so, so pretty to me. But it's not like beyond critique in my opinion. So mostly favorable thoughts on that. And then Poppy's second outfit I also really like, with a huge caveat. I cannot even count the number of times I've said this on my channel. I did like a dedicated video about Rainbow High having weird and inconsistent fashion, and I've mentioned it when I design outfits for Rainbow High characters that they have weird and inconsistent fashion. I think this second outfit is really cool. I don't think that it's the same cut to any clothing pieces that we've gotten from Rainbow High before. Like, it's very unique, and I like it. I think it's pretty. I do not think that it fits Poppy. I don't think that if you're going with a doll that is supposed to have one distinct style so that she is separate from other dolls, I don't think the doll that would wear that monarch ball gown is the same doll that would wear this. So it's frustrating to me because I just feel like it's another instance of Rainbow High not knowing what to do with Poppy in terms of her style. But I do think it's pretty, so when I get her, I will definitely have her in the ball gown, and then I might use this outfit for someone else because I feel like it will look amazing on another doll. So realistically, that's just like a pet peeve of mine personally. I do think that it looks really cool though, so I'm complaining, but it's all in good fun. Okay, Sunny is where I start to have some real opinions here. I will say, in the interest of, you know, being kind, I think that they did a really, really good job of getting this umbrella dress in a 3D format. I feel like this must have been so difficult to translate from an animation to a physical dress, just because it's like a very unique construction. So I really do think they did an amazing job on that, and we'll get into the reasons why I don't particularly want Sunny, but I do want this dress, you know? Like, I don't care for this doll in particular, but I do want this dress. I think that it looks really, really cool. I also like her shoes. I think that those are pretty. I think my main issue is that, very similarly to Poppy, I don't think that Sunny has very consistent styling in all of her iterations of Rainbow High. I think that the versions of her that are like the truest to her are definitely the Sunny and Luna 2-pack, and then also her junior high version. I also think her winter break doll was pretty good in terms of being accurate to her style. I think the problem is that Sunny's style does require a lot of like decals and details and accessories, and so therefore it is kind of inherently a little bit more expensive to produce. Now, I do know that in the episodes, she didn't have a ton of accessories on this outfit, so like I understand that this is accurate. I just think that it doesn't scream Sunny enough, you know? I feel like it's a great start. I think that it's very unique and very fun and playful, but I just think that if Sunny weren't working within, you know, like the doll budget, she would have a lot more going on here. So it's just a little bit disappointing to see that. I understand that it's just an issue with like budget and making all of the dolls kind of look comparable in terms of what they come with. But I do think that it ends up making Sunny a bit of a letdown a lot of the time, and this is definitely one of those times. I also really despise the makeup on this Sunny, specifically her lip. The bright pink lip out of nowhere is just very jarring to me. Again, like if she were decked out and all of the accessories and stuff that I feel like she deserves, I'm sure there would be pink somewhere else, and so it wouldn't seem so out of place. But as is, it just doesn't seem like the color they should have picked. So those are my problems with Sunny's first outfit. Her second outfit, I am actively upset about. I think this is by far the worst second outfit. It's so bad. First of all, it is just straight up recolors of other pieces. So Ruby's jacket, I'm sure we've had a jacket that's that same cut before, but it has a very unique colorway in the sense that it's not only painted black, but it also has the flames on it that is specific to Ruby. Sunny is wearing what I believe is Poppy's Series 1 jackets. If not exactly that, it's very, very close, just in yellow. And then she's wearing Violet's Series 1 dress, just obviously instead of like the purple, it's got gold sequins on it. So I just think that that's a bit frustrating that some dolls, like Poppy, got what I believe is a whole new outfit, like a new design, and then Sunny just got recolors. And what's even worse is I could see her wearing this jacket, the puffer jacket. I think Sunny would rock that with something else. I feel like she would have a fun way to stylize that. But I can't imagine her wearing this dress. It feels off to me. I don't know, especially when you look at the umbrella dress right next to it coming in the same package. The umbrella dress is so different and full of whimsy and fun and like brightness. And then this is just like a generic gold dress to me. It doesn't feel like it fits, and I'm very upset about it. I just feel like Sunny deserved more. Okay, next up is Jade, and this is a difficult one, okay? Because in the show, her dress had like literal electricity on it, and obviously you can't translate that to a doll. Like, I do understand that, so I don't like how this looks, the green electricity that she has going on. I think it's very thick and very chunky, and it just doesn't quite look right. But I do understand that it is probably the best case scenario given like the materials that are available to use for this. Like, you obviously can't mass market a doll with like LEDs on it and actual electricity, partially because it's expensive, and then also because these are toys for children, and like that might not be super safe. So I understand it. I do think, again, it's probably the best case scenario, but I just still don't love it. I do like that they made it glow in the dark. I think that that is a good redeeming factor for this, because it does make it a little bit more like electricity, but I'm just not obsessed. That being said, before we got proper stock photos, I kind of was thinking, okay, well, I could just take the electricity off and just have her have the dress underneath. But I don't even think that that is executed super well. I will say most of it I think is done quite well, but there are a lot of star charms on it, and I feel like the star charms, the way that they're executed, just look really kitschy, and instead of looking edgy and like it fits in with the rest of this design for Jade, they look like earrings that you would give to a toddler. You know, like they look like little clip-on earrings that you would get while playing like Pretty Pretty Princess, which is fine for Pretty Pretty Princess. But it doesn't work with this outfit to me. I understand that that's very particular. Like, I can be very picky sometimes, and I get that. I just don't think that they look super. I love her boots. I will absolutely give her that. These boots look amazing. I like the makeup for her, and I'm really, really glad that she got some accessories in her hair, because I believe that this Jade and then Glitch had the same like hair accessories in the show, and obviously Glitch's doll did not get those, so I'm really glad that Jade got some hair accessories. But overall, I think this is the design that I was most excited for, because it was so striking in the show, and I think the inherent design of the dress meant that it was going to be disappointing no matter what, but I do think it's a little bit more disappointing than I thought it would be, which is kind of sad to say. Her second outfit is absolutely nothing to write home about to me. It's harder to see in the stock photo because her hoodie is kind of over it, but she has just like a green snakeskin skirt, which it's fine. Like, I think it's a nice piece. I feel like it would look good on her, but it's nothing to write home about, you know? And then the hoodie I really violently dislike because it has the embroidered jewelry. I just think that it looks so bad. Like, I just feel like it looks not good at all. It's very frustrating to me. So Jade was one that I was excited for, but she's definitely a letdown. Moving on to Skyler. I wasn't even like someone who had Skyler on my radar for this release, just because I know a lot of other people really, really love her. She's fine. I don't have anything against her. I just find a lot of her designs kind of boring. Like, they're not super exciting to me. So I wasn't even thinking about Skyler when these dolls were announced, and I really should have been. This is so, so good. While she's not my favorite design-wise because it's just not something that I personally love, I will say that I wholeheartedly think this is by far the best adaptation from animation to doll form. This looks amazing. This looks intentional. This looks like it could have been designed for the doll first before it was designed for the animation. Like, Jade's dress was obviously designed for animation, and then it kind of was like harder to do in doll form because it just doesn't translate well. This dress is done so well that I would believe you if you said it was designed for the dolls and then it was animated. It just looks so, so good. I would argue that it honestly looks better in doll form than it did in animation. So even though it's not my personal cup of tea, like, I'm not wowed over it in a very personal sense, I am wowed just from an objective design standpoint. I think she looks incredible, and somehow I feel like she even looks better in her second outfit. I mean, like, the first one is much more exciting. I understand that, so, like, I get if people like that one better. I just really like the design for this second dress that she has. Her bag is also really, really cool. Everything about this is so fun. Like, I'm just shocked by how well they nailed Skyler's design. It's such a good thing for Skyler, but I do think that it kind of exacerbates the dolls that didn't get executed so well. Like, if you compare Skyler and Sunny, yeah, I do think that Sunny's runway outfit looks pretty good. Not to the same level as Skyler's, but it looks pretty good. But when you compare their second outfits, again, I'm pretty sure this is a new pattern for Skyler. I could be wrong, like, I'm not claiming to be 100% an authority on that, but I think this is a new pattern. And then Sunny just gets recolors. It's very strange. I feel like the attention to detail is extremely unequal amongst the dolls in this release. But Skyler definitely fared super well. She looks incredible. So, again, I still don't think I would want to get her full price, but I am more willing to pay, like, more money for her. Maybe like a light sale instead of a clearance, because I think she was done very well. That brings us to Violet, and poor Violet. I ranted about this in, I think, an episode where I did like clothing designs for the dolls. I think that's where I talked about it the most. But Violet is supposed to be over the top and glamorous and sparkly and like all of these interesting things. And I just feel like sometimes she gets insanely boring designs. Like, out of all of the runway dresses, this one just isn't super eye-catching. I think they're like little fake half pearls that are all over her dress, like little pearl studs. I like that. I think that that looks cool. The feathers, I kind of go back and forth on whether it would have been better to do real feathers or not, but I honestly think this is probably better, just because we've seen like real feathers on a rainbow high scale, and sometimes they do well and sometimes they don't. So I feel like this is probably the best case scenario in terms of executing the design from the animation, but I just think that the design was not good enough for Violet, and it just makes me feel kind of bad for her. Her shoes are fine. They're kind of bland. I don't know. I don't really feel like they super match the dress. I just feel like she deserved better, you know? And then when it comes to her second outfit, I actually like these pieces. Like, I think that these are pretty pieces. They're just so unbelievably simple. So again, I'm not trying to like harp on like Skyler or Poppy or anything like that. But when you compare this dress to Poppy's two-piece or to Skyler's dress, they're nowhere near the same level. You know, it just makes me really confused about what the budget was or where the budget went or like what level they were trying to design at for these second outfits, because some of them are so good and some of them are just not. And I like these pieces. I think that the purple dress is a pretty dress. I think that the little like jacket that she has, the white fur jacket, is a good piece. I just don't think either of these pieces are interesting enough to really feel like a second outfit. They feel like they would be great layered with other stuff, or even as like a cheap fashion pack. I think that this would be fine. It just doesn't feel complete. I guess that's the best way to put it. So Violet's a bit of a letdown. And then lastly, we have Amaya. And I do like the return of the white-haired Amaya. I don't have her with white hair, so I think that that's kind of fun. It's like another opportunity to get her. I love the top portion of her dress with like the white ruched bit. I think that that looks very good. And I even think that the sheer rainbow bottom is executed pretty well. It's not like an incredibly complicated design, so whereas Jade was obviously going to be very difficult to translate to doll form, I think that Amaya's is pretty easy to translate into doll form, and so it looks pretty good for that. The one thing that is really, really killing this for me is that you can see the line under the rainbow where her white dress stops, and I understand, again, that's very particular. I can be a very particular person. I just think that it looks really bad. I think that it makes it look insanely cheap. It's kind of like in those like real versus fake, or like when you get the real dress versus a Shein dress, the real dress would be lined in such a way that you can't see that harsh line of demarcation, and the Shein dress would look like this. And so it's just frustrating to see that she looks like she's wearing a knockoff of her own dress, because I just don't think that that's executed super well. I'm not, a fashion designer or a doll designer or anything like that, so I'm not 100% sure how that could be fixed. Even just making the fabric, though, more opaque, I feel like wouldn't have ruined the effect, and it would have gotten rid of that. It's just kind of frustrating to me because I really, really want to like her, and I'm having a very hard time liking her. So she's another one that I could see myself getting maybe on sale so that I could try to fix this. But it is just a little bit frustrating. And then what is even more frustrating somehow is her second outfit, which I do believe is technically new. I think that this is, technically speaking, a different design. Again, I could be wrong. Like, my brain is not a perfect Rainbow High database, so I don't know any of this for 100%. But I think this is technically a new, like, pattern for a dress. But it is very, very close to just the kind of general vibe of the original white hair Amaya's outfit. I think she had a skirt and a shirt in that one. And it's not exactly the same, but it is very close, and it just feels weird and a little bit lazy, I guess, to have something that so closely resembles the old one. I don't know, obviously you want to make it seem consistent amongst her character, but I just feel like there had to have been something else that you could do. And there's a lot of detail on this dress. Okay, I know I keep going back to this, but I'm so confused. When you compare this dress and Violet's dress, these are not at the same price point. Like, these two dresses are not Violet's second dress. These two are not at the same level. Violet's dress is like one piece with like a little bit of sewing at the bust to kind of bring it together. And then this has stitching and like little charms and buckles. So it's weird because I can't wrap my head around what they were going for with the second outfits. But then to put in that much effort and have it look so similar to her original outfit, at that point I feel like you should have just re-released her original outfit. Like, if you're not going to really put anything super different out, I just feel like there's no point. Like, okay, Skyler. Skyler's whole thing is denim, which to me is very limiting. The fact that you can really only give her denim. Like, it's just very one note in my personal opinion. And yet, every Skyler release has felt very different. Like, they all have extremely different pieces, except for her junior high release. I sometimes forget that junior high is a thing, because I'm just, like, disappointed by it. But all of her proper Rainbow High releases have felt distinct, have had interesting and unique design elements within this scope of being the denim girl. So the fact that Amaya doesn't have, like, such a limited restriction, and she also has a dress that is so similar to her first outfit, is just very disappointing to me. So, okay, finally ranting individually. Overall, like I said, it's just a bit disappointing and a bit confusing. I think that I had pretty high hopes for the Runway line, especially when it comes to the fact that they were going to come with second outfits. That was very exciting. And I feel like some dolls really, really hit the mark. For me, Poppy is an absolute win. I think that she looks amazing. I don't love Skyler, but I think that she was executed very, very well in this line. And other ones just look so much worse that it's actively confusing to me. Like, I feel like some dolls genuinely look like they had double the budget of other dolls, and I just don't really understand. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not trying to harp on them too much. I'm not trying to be too negative, but I just really was expecting something different, I think. I also think that this is a line that was hard for Rainbow High to execute, in the sense that I think it's hard for them to satisfy their fans who have been waiting for this for so long. Back when I think Winter Break came out, before we knew that it was going to be Winter Break, people thought that that line might be the Runway dolls because the episodes had just aired, and so it kind of made more sense for them to be making the dolls back when the episodes had just come out. Like advertising the dolls in the show would make more sense, and obviously that didn't happen, and the dolls took a very, very long time to come out. So I do think that in that sense, Rainbow High kind of shot themselves in the foot, because people have been ready for these dolls for so long, and I feel like the longer that you have to anticipate something, the higher your expectations get. So I feel like inherently a lot of people are just a little bit disappointed with this because it's something that they've been thinking about and wanting for a long time, and so their expectations get a little bit high. I don't know. I could be completely off base there, but that's just kind of how I'm feeling. I feel like compared to the hopes that I had for this line, the actual executions range from actually good to abysmal. And it's just kind of rough. But I would love to hear your thoughts on these, which ones are your favorites and which ones are your least favorites, and kind of your thoughts on the line as a whole. I definitely think it's kind of a weird release, but I don't know, maybe that's just me, so definitely let me know in the comments. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day or your night or whatever it might be, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye, guys!